Hello again. Today we're going to be doing a best of 3 between the Terran player Sari and the Protoss player Huro, aka YSC. It is going to be a best of 3. So with that said, let's just get straight into it. Our first map is going to be Sylphid. Now for those of you who do not know Sari, he played in the most recent KSL, ended up not making it out of groups, but he went 2-3 versus Soma, knocked out Shark going 3-1 versus him, and then ended up getting eliminated by Snow 3-1. So this guy is definitely a very good Terran, an unknown really to me. I had to look him up. He was on SK Telecom in the olden days, never really hit the big time with SK Telecom, but definitely a big time threat and up and coming player in the Korean scene. Now for Protoss, we've got YSC. He also didn't hit the big time in his pro gamer days. He was a part of Samsung Con. Not too sure if he really ever made it onto the A team for Samsung Con, but he was a member of Samsung Con, and we know that he's been playing very well recently in, all the Havoc use he ended up playing in, but I don't think he ever did really well in KSL or ASL just yet. So we do have YSC in the top middle. Sari is at bottom right, and thinking back to his KSL games, I talked about in our previous cast how usually Terrans are going for 12 gas, but Sari is actually a guy that is more balanced with gasless expand or 14 command center in combination with the 12 gas. He actually went for gasless and command center first 2 times out of the 4 games he played versus Snow. So we really are going to have to pay close attention to what he wants to go for. Is it going to be gas? Looks like this SCV wants to go build the refinery, or maybe not. Meanwhile, back in the base of YSC, we are gonna probably see the standard gas. It would be unlikely for him to go gate Nexus, and that is going to be the 12 gas for Sari. Now also in the KSL games, he didn't just play macro every time. There was actually the game that he played on Sylphid versus Snow, he ended up opening very similar right now, the 12 gas, but then ended up going into a Marine Medic play, which I'm a big fan of when you go gasless. Didn't work out versus Snow, so Sari is definitely somebody that you gotta pay attention to what he's going for. He's not just gonna sit in his base and go 2-1. He's not gonna play standard all the time. He's not gonna just open 12 gas every single game he plays in. So this should be a very interesting match. Now we do have the standard Zealot coming out of YSC, pretty much the go-to build for Protoss these days. Now, Sari scouted extremely late. He's not going to see this Zealot coming towards his base. Really hope he gets a bunker up in time. We may actually just have a quick game if there's no bunker. Here comes that SCV, and already I think it's a bit too late. This Zealot seems pretty damn fast. I'm surprised how far along it is towards this base already. And with only 2 Marines with no Sim City, this is going to be a tough hold. Sari is probably going to have to put back onto gas and go into a Vulture. Now something to note here is he does have 2 on gas, so this may have already just been a fake. But this bunker is going to get denied for now. Don't think this Zealot's really going to get in because the SCV control is fantastic. But denying this bunker is very annoying. It's taking a lot of hits on that Zealot though. Now 3 Marines are out and should push this back. How many connections can he get with the Zealot? Not that many. SCV might go down though, and that does go down. And we do have the Dragoon coming out, and he's got to get this bunker up. Zealot does go down. 4 Marines are out. We are building a Vulture here, and he does still have 2 on gas, so this may be a transition into something like a starport play since he has excess gas at this point. Now, YSC should assume that most likely a Vulture is coming out since his Zealot was dealing so much damage, or at least putting pressure onto the Terran player. So he should be aware that rallying these goons across the map probably not the smartest move, and I like how he is scouting around the side of his base for potential Vulture movement and also leaving a goon back in his main. Now what is this SCV up to? We do have the command center at the natural, but we've seen somewhat often these days proxy starport to be a viable build. We do have mines coming in, so everything so far looks like we could have proxy starport. Only 1 on gas now, so maybe not, because that would be a very intensive building to build with such a low gas econ, or income I mean. No, that is going to be the starport. So he's going to be very low on gas. He's going to be relying on vultures with mines to really fend off any pressure from the Protoss player. Now meanwhile, back at YSC's base, we see that the robotics is a pretty standard timing for the Zealot opener. It's a little bit later than skipping the Zealot. But overall, everything pretty normal for him. In our last series with, what was it, Sharp and Ample versus YSC, we always saw YSC go for the Observer first and then go for the Reaver. I would really like to see him go straight into Reaver this time if he can sniff out that this is going to be multiple vultures, because really the defense for the Terran player to defend off Reavers is going to be very minuscule. So I really do hope that he just goes straight into Reaver here. What's this probe going to build? It is an observatory, so he is just going to get some vision out on the map, clear out some mines, which is okay, but I personally prefer the Reaver first. But he's just going to play it safe because, of course, we know that this is just one factory. He doesn't know that this isn't two fact. If he was to go skip the Observer and be facing something like a Tank Vulture timing, he'd be in deep trouble. Now, meanwhile, dropship has started. We don't have any pylons on the outskirts of the main of Sylphid, but he does still have pretty good vision. Really, only this area cannot be seen, so unless Sorry drops it at like the very outskirts of the base, he should see the drop. Now there is the shuttle, but again, there's no support bay just yet, or there it is at the natural. So the Reaver's still going to be a little bit delayed. Now the one good thing for him is that because the starport is proxied, the chances that a Wraith comes out is going to be very low. And even if it does, it's going to have to run back all the way to the main to defend it. Now here comes that drop. How many kills can he get? Observer may intercept this. What does he see? He does see it just barely. Now, did he really see it? No reaction just yet. Just goes straight into the main. Now, this is 3 vultures. I think Sorry has a couple more vultures at, or somewhere out on the map. We found them over here. Now, he's going to send them into the nat at the same time. But good defense from YSC, blocking with a single goon. And this drop really didn't kill that much. Meanwhile, at the front, these vultures don't have any mines, so they're not going to be able to get in. So overall, other than forcing a probe pull and maybe getting 2 or 3 probes, not much damage done. Also, a full scout went off. Oh, got damage onto that Reaver. That's a lot of damage too, down to 55 shields already, or 55 health already. And that also lets Sorry know that a Reaver is out on the map, so he should be preparing with a Wraith. He's even building 2 of them. So he should be able to shut this down very easily. I love the turret placement in the main. He's got them set up at perfect positions. Mines are set up perfectly too. 1 mine shot now will kill the Reaver. And also this dropship is still alive, which means these goons have to stay back in the base to defend, which gives map priority to Sorry. And because of that, he's just going to take a 3rd command center very quickly. And what can YSC really do to stop this? He's going to put down a couple more gateways, but the probe pull really did hurt his econ quite a bit. I'm trying to get a look onto how many probes he has at the natural. There's quite a few. Looks like we might be undersaturated in the main just a little, but not a big deal. But sometimes if you are undersaturated in the main and oversaturated in the natural, it really can screw up your econ. But I think since he is queuing some more probes, it won't really be a factor this game. But seeing 4 gate with no real tech, I guess Citadel has just started. I am a bit worried that we may just try an all-in, go for something like an 8 gate all-in, maybe go Gateway Man on 3 bases, because really our tech is mega delayed. Forge coming in, it's already at 50% on +1. Now, does Sorry have any upgrades? Okay, Armory is at the natural. I'm always worried about the Armory timing when I see a starport play, especially when we were mining gas so little in the main for such a long time. But he is matching the +1 weapon upgrade of the Protoss player. And this 3rd command center is going to be huge for Sorry because the Observer didn't see it. He really has no vision at all. Protoss is in a terrible spot. Sorry should really run away with this game unless he gets caught off guard by some type of timing. And because of the damage that was dealt to the probe line, it looks like YSC is not confident in really going for anything other than 2 base Arbiter. He does have speed on his shuttles now. He does have a second shuttle coming out. So it looks like he does want to get a bit aggressive, but he's not going to commit fully with ground army in the center of the map or something like that. He is just going to do some harassment into the main, most likely. He actually has 3 shuttles. So he's going to try and get back into this game by trying to kill a bunch of depots in the main of Sorry. Usually you're putting a depot field up here, but he unknowingly is not really going to run into a lot of depots. So that's a bit unfortunate that he's not going to be able to kill as many depots as he was expecting. Instead, Sorry has built them down here, which is very slick in this specific scenario, but you can see that he's running out of surface area to actually build factories. So I'm getting a little bit worried that we may kind of get into this weird spot where we have factories here, maybe like even one here, and our macro kind of slips. But here we go. Shuttle's moving around the left side. I heard a scan go off, and he does see that the Arbiter Tribunal just finished. So he knows the timing of this Arbiter is basically going to be about 4 minutes for recall to be a possibility, about 2.5 to 3 minutes for stasis. And this shuttle does come in. See that it is a 4th command center coming up. Gonna deny this very easily. So nicely done. This is one move that he can do over and over to try and get back into this game, because we don't have really any anti-air at this point other than these 2 Wraiths. There's no Goliaths anywhere. There's Dragoons mixed in with the shuttles, so these Wraiths really aren't going to be able to kill the shuttles. Now, do we have a science facility anywhere? Looks like we did build the science facility, so +2 has started. Hopefully these Reavers can get out because they're such expensive units, but he's got to be careful. The Wraiths are sharking around to kill them. He is scanning to see exactly when they get loaded up. Meanwhile, back at YSC taking a 4th base, we've started to get a few more gateways down. We're at 6, but we're not at that critical mass that Protoss likes to have, around 12 or so. But he's still in an okay position. 3 bases up and running. He does have Forge +2 going. And this is, again, a key breakpoint for Terran, or for Protoss in the Terran vs Protoss matchup. You always want to have +2 if you can get it when they move out with that 2-1 timing. +1 at minimum. And now with YSC getting 4 bases up, he's actually going to be able to have a good gateway flood pretty soon. But I am a little worried that the supplies are so high for Sorry that we're going to be moving out pretty soon. But you can see that the factories, really, we should have like 9 or 10 by now, since we do have 3 bases and we're looking to take a 4th base. So the factories are pretty low. It's only 7, yet somehow he's done a good job to keep his supply so high. 170 supply, +2 is going to be kicking in within the next minute or so. And we also have a great SCV count, something I always look towards. How many SCVs does the Terran have? Does he have any potential follow-up if he loses his army? Meanwhile, the probe count is really, really low. This is going to be, of course, a better trade for Protoss, but there's not going to be that huge remax that we usually see in a lot of the TVP matches. Now, these Wraiths are not able to clean up the shuttles, but he does pick off one of them, but 1 Wraith went down. Not a huge loss to lose a Wraith. Vulture's going to get caught by a few goons here, and anything that YSC can really pick off is going to be great, just to delay the push as much as possible, because we know +2 is finishing. Now would be the exact time that Sorry wants to move out, so losing those Vultures pretty much makes him, or forces him into another round of Vultures before he's feeling confident to move out, wait for 200 to go, and that allows YSC to get speed, for example, in this scenario. He doesn't have it just yet. It is, oh my god, it just started. So he's actually probably going to miss speed during this attack, and that's just going to be a disaster. Hopefully Sorry goes right now, because this is his best time to actually go. There's only 1 stasis, and as Terran, you don't care about a single stasis. It's almost irrelevant. Nice Wraith. Bunker. Marine's going to that bunker. It's going to shut down this drop pretty easily. Well, maybe not actually. 2 Reavers, I forgot about them. 8 health. That's a bit unlucky for Sorry, and every second that goes by is so important for YSC. These drops, really not impactful for fights in the middle of the map. Really hard to control a Reaver during a maxed out army fight. So losing these specific units, he can just remake some Zealots, remake some Goons, get a second Arbiter potentially out. Now, the Arbiter or the Stargate is not building, so I don't know if he has a second Arbiter anywhere. Looks like he does, and that's great for him because we almost have enough energy for a second stasis, and this Arbiter has almost enough energy for a third stasis. And as long as he can just delay this push, 3 stasis, I don't see really that many Goliaths in the army. In fact, I don't see any Goliaths. Okay, it looks like we have about 2 or 3. So he's really not going to even be able to kill the Arbiters during the fight, and that's going to be very impactful for future fights if YSC can build up. Oh my god, I just realized we have a recall at bottom middle. It's going to shut down this 4th base, but that's actually a lot of supply to recall, and it is pretty much cornered here. But YSC is going to get the command center, so both of these players are going to be trading base for base. Vultures are dealing a ton of damage to the probe line at the 3rd base of YSC, but this 4th base got crushed, even getting the command center, but he's going to lose all of his units at the same time, so a big commitment from him. Meanwhile, all Sari is really losing is a few Vultures, but this is still okay because YSC has a 5th base even. He's doing a really good job to take bases at the same time, and the biggest thing that happened here is look at the SCV count. We went from 70 down to 47, and now we actually have a worker lead for Protoss. Still 53 is a bit low. I would like to see something at least 65. But still a good position for YSC. He was in deep trouble after the drop, so he's recovering very well. And now actually Sari is the one that is kind of on the ropes. Remember that Arbiter that is somewhere out on the map still has energy. It's got 150. Looks like he wants to go for another recall. But +3 weapon going to be kicking in any moment now, and we all know how deadly +3 weapon is, especially since this tank line has not been reset at all. Here comes that Arbiter. It's going straight to the 3rd base. There's not really that many turrets here, so this should be able to shut down this base. Mines are trying to get up, and now I think the Arbiter actually is going to die flying over those turrets. So this is going to be another base shut down from Sari, and if we look at what he actually has left for mining, it's really not much, but he's just going to go for a counterattack, and I think he's just going to shut down YSC's main. There's so much Terran here. He can send a couple tanks to the right side, shut down this Nexus. That's exactly what he's going to do. He's just going to go for the throat, a couple tanks onto this high ground, get this Nexus, and then that Arbiter just used all of its energy, and it's also dead. So this is really a very sizable army. I don't know if YSC can necessarily deal with it. He's going to counterattack to the 3rd base. He does have an observer, but be careful not to run into these mines that he can't see. Looks like he is just barely going to avoid them. This shuttle has 4 Templars. Very important shuttle. He cannot lose this. It's his only AoE right now. But if this command center goes down, we're not mining anymore. This is it for Terran. He's got about 700 minerals left at his natural. Command center is going to fall. Oh, amazing storms. Gets a ton of SCVs, but he needs a couple more. Blanketing those tanks, going to take those down. Actually, the tanks do wipe out the Dragoons here. Command center doesn't die, and all of a sudden, it's Sari that, or it's YSC that is on the ropes. He's lost almost all of his Nexuses except for top left. Actually, I take that back. He still has 2 bases running. He's done a good job during all this crisis to take bases. Supplies extremely close, worker count extremely close. Do we have a vessel anywhere? Doesn't look like we do, and that could be what changes the state of this game. If we get a stasis that goes off, hits the majority of the tank line, and we don't have any vessels for EMP, that could completely change the tide of the game. Also, because our command center count is so low, we don't really have that many scans. So if we take a fight without vision, that's going to be it. Here is another Arbiter looking for a recall. This is going to be a command center most likely going down, but instead he's got his eyes set on mid-right. There's nothing really here. It's just 3 tanks. Oh no, he recalled on top of some mines, and like I said, no vision. He does clean up the tanks. He did lose a little bit, but Sari's got a massive push, and shutting down this Nexus is one of the 2 remaining bases that is actually mining. But how many scans does he have left? I don't see any. There's no scans. In a perfect stasis, hits a lot of the army. He's going to be able to clean up a lot of these tanks. And YSC, he's making the most out of what he actually has. He really doesn't have that much. It's only 5 goons. But as long as this Arbiter stays alive, and as long as he can keep a couple goons alive to DPS down these tanks, he's still going to be in a decent position. But as I say that, I think we're kind of fizzling out. We only have, looks like 6 Zealots going for a counter. Okay, there's the rest of his army. I was wondering how we're at 100 supply with only 6 Zealots. But this Nexus goes down. It doesn't seem like Sari knows about this high ground base just yet. But both players back down to 1 base mining, only mining the mineral only for Sari, and also only mining the top left base for YSC. He's gotten his natural up and running now, but this base is under threat. It's going to fall. Now, can YSC actually barrel down here? It doesn't look like he's going to go for it. There's a couple tanks set up, a bunch of mines too, but he does take out the command center. He does also have +3, so his army hits like a truck. But running into siege mode and mines that are also +3, that's going to be a nightmare. Great use of the dropship for vision onto the high ground. But here he comes. I think we're kind of funneling a little too hard into this. Not going to get anything done. And more than likely, this is going to be Sari just taking game 1 in a very crazy game. Very back and forth. YSC just not able to keep up. Ran out of money. Really, he did a good job to take bases, I thought. But Sari, keeping his tanks alive for the majority of the game. Really, the only threat to his army was that big stasis we had on the left side of the map. And because the tank count never got dwindled down, he was able to just eliminate bases at will. And this looks like this is just going to be the killing blow, especially now that we have a vessel mixed in with the army. Also should have EMP. Here we go. This is probably going to be the last fight. The storms will have to be the difference maker here. Good EMP. Stasis does go off but doesn't catch much. And I think we do have enough. Oh, actually we're very low on energy. Floated command center. We only have 2 scans left. So he does have to be careful, but the army is so tiny that I'm not really too worried about it. We do have 140 supply to 100. Now, I just heard 2 scans go off. So that means we don't have any energy left. And that could backfire if he was to drag these mines into the tank line. But of course he doesn't know that. He's not going to go for it. Looks like we had a storm drop onto the 3rd base. Don't know how many kills it got. I think it was like about 5 to 6 based on the SCV count. But we are struggling for probes. And even if we had more probes, we just don't have any patches left. So this is probably going to be the last hurrah for YSC. He's moving towards the top right to build a nexus, but really that's all of our resources. We can't build anything else at this point. Here comes a recall to bottom middle. Now does this trigger? Okay, wow, he turned his entire army around. So actually he's just going to try and save this base. I thought it might trigger a counterattack. But this command center is going to fall, but this is the entirety of YSC's army, so for it to die, we're not going to be able to replace it. And this is probably going to be the GG right here. Just nothing really left for YSC. And Sari looking very strong. And I love how we didn't just have a passive game. Went into a very slick starport build into great vulture harassment. And he's going to take game 1. So really nicely done from Sari. Let's get into game 2. It is going to be on circuit breakers. And I don't think I remember seeing Sari play on circuit breakers in KSL. I don't think that was a KSL map. But because he's already shown 12 gas, and I was talking about how he does actually mix up his builds, if I was to make a prediction with this game, I would say that the chances of him going 14 command center or gasless are pretty damn high. But I think YSC played pretty well for all the damage that was done with the drop, especially the mine getting a hit onto the Reaver. It kind of just really dismantled YSC's complete game plan. He was too hesitant to actually go use it. We saw how long it took for him to even use any of his shuttles. He waited to get 3, load up all 3 of them with a couple goons and a zealot, and then he also waited for a second Reaver. And really, other than the 6 vultures that Sari had, we had no defense. There was very minuscule defense, so if the Reaver had have instantly gone, was not low on health, I think he could have done a lot of damage. Now, will YSC go for the Zealot pressure this time, or will he just go for a standard goon? Looks like... Oh, I guess we're going to have to wait and see. It's a little bit too early to tell at this point. I thought we may have a 10-10-10 going down for Sorry, but this is just a standard depot timing. Ooh, okay. I thought this was going to be an 11 gas, but there goes that SCV towards the front of his base. He is just going to build a barracks right there. Looks like he's going to be going for a wall. Thought this may have been a gasless expand build with the barracks on the low ground. And there we go. We are going to have an 11 gas. This is going to allow him to get up his factory just that little bit faster. Also, since he does have the barracks in the front, you really want to get up that factory ASAP. You do not want to get pylon blocked, because all of a sudden you've got to put your factory in an awkward position. It doesn't create a complete wall. And when you do get a complete wall here, it is Zealot tight. It means you can skip on the Marines. So I'm liking the opener from Sorry. Also, it can be pretty much the best opener you can get versus a 12 Nexus, because you can get out that Vulture about 5 seconds faster than a 12 gas, and sometimes 5 seconds is all you really need. So a really cool opener from Sorry so far. He did pull off of gas this time, unlike last game where he had 2 on gas. So already we've got a bit of a deviation. He's again showing us that he's not going to play the same every single time. And this time YSC did not go for an early Zealot. He is just going straight into range, into a goon. And probably the most common follow-up to this is we're going to see that 21 Nexus come down, get up the Nexus ASAP. But when he sees how fast this factory is, I'm not too sure if he can tell that this is an 11 gas just based on how fast this factory is going to complete. But maybe he can. Maybe that will tip him off that potentially a fast Vulture is going to be coming out. Now here comes that probe. Can he tell that this is an 11 gas? He just turns around immediately, and there is that Vulture being built. Now, I experimented with this quite often. Can the Vulture actually get to the other player's base, or at least get out onto the map before the Dragoon gets to your bridges? And the answer for me was no when they were close positions. But because this is a diagonal position, and because pro players tend to leave their goons back, he's actually being able to get this Vulture out onto the map. Now, unfortunately for Sorry here, he doesn't get anything, and this SCV is going to go down, and this is really a terrible thing for a Terran player to have this happen. You get no intel. You have no idea, is this a Nexus? Is this a Citadel? Is this a Robo? Are we just going like 2-gate? But the Vulture does scoot around the 2 goons that YSC has, and actually the Vulture is the one that's going to get the full scout off. And this is kind of a blunder, because remember last game on Sylphid, YSC did a good job to keep a goon back at his base, and now we just see him blindly sending 2 across the map. And this Vulture potentially can get a few kills in, and the goon is going to pop out at a pretty good time, but it's not fast enough. How many kills can this Vulture get? He also sees that the robotics is very far along. 1 probe already. Looks like he may get 3 here. Ooh, 3, maybe even 4. Okay, he still gets a good amount of probes. He does get 3. Now, I didn't get to see if YSC actually poked up the ramp. Well, he's going to see the command center floating down now, but he did have to worry that this could potentially be a 1-base play. But now that he does see the command center, he's feeling a little bit more confident to just be more aggressive with his goons. Now, this probe, what does this probe want to do? If this was G5, we're building a Nexus. But more than likely, this is probably just going to be a pylon somewhere for a bit of vision. But this could be a 3rd Nexus very quickly, since he knows that the Vulture, you know, delays the tank count. A floated command center delays our econ spike. And that is going to be a 3rd Nexus. And it goes unscouted for now. So actually, Sorry is going to have to make some magic happen, because 3-base Protoss this fast is going to be very punishing. Also, remember, his tank count's extremely low. This is 4 goons, the magic number to start 2-shotting tanks. This goon's extremely low. He's got to be very careful not to lose it. You do not want to face... Oh, man, he's going to lose a couple goons here. There goes 1. If he targets out that back goon, that could be 2 going down. Regardless, nice defense from Sorry so far, only losing his Marines. But his Econ did get delayed quite a bit by having to float down this command center. And back at the main of YSC, Observatory is done. First observer is coming out. He's going into 3 gate. So it's most likely not going to be Reaver this time. I don't expect a delayed support bay or anything like that. It's more than likely just going to be Gateway Man into about 7 minutes, 7:30 Citadel with Forge, which is what YSC likes to do. Always get those Forge upgrades, always go into that Arbiter timing. And what is the response going to be for Sorry? He got out an extremely fast Armory. For this +1 to be this far along, this means it was about a 5:15 Armory, which is pretty damn fast, especially when we're opening Vulture first. He did get an Academy 2. He's going to scan and see exactly what's going on in the main. And this does look like a pretty standard third Nexus timing, or third Nexus build. You know, you got the 3 gate, you got the robotics, but he doesn't know that this Nexus is, you know, this is full saturation already. This is crazy how saturated it is. And shockingly, he actually is building a support base. So he is going to go into Reaver. Now, does he know that it's Reaver now, or does he know that it's a third base now? Because if you see 3 gate and you see the support bay and you see the shuttle out, you're thinking, well, man, am I getting busted here? We already got shown a 3 shuttle drop in the last game. This could be a very similar move where it's just triple shuttle bomb. Well, it looks like he's not going to fall for it because he is building his command center. Actually, command center is already halfway done. So despite not having any intel, he just preemptively built it. And I guess he's already evaluated that this is not a 2 base all in. It must be a Protoss with a 3rd base already. So a good read from him on that. And there is the Forge and Citadel, as I said, about a 7:30 timing. The Citadel's about done now. And with speed coming in, shuttle is going to be extremely dangerous. It can get in and out of the base so fast. So as expected, Goliath with range coming in. No shocker there. And Sorry is really nailing his build. His starport is already done. He's going to be putting down that science facility pretty soon. It's going to line up pretty nicely with his +1 weapon. Command center is also finishing. Really, the most dangerous point is going to be in the next 30 seconds or so. How much damage can this Reaver drop really get done? Can it delay the 3rd base of Sorry? Can it just be super annoying and allow the Protoss player to power at the same time? We hear multiple scans went off. It looks like I missed them, but more than likely he scanned up here and saw the Templar Archive and Stargate. Here comes that shuttle, but it already took a lot of shield damage. I'm a bit worried that this Reaver may just die for free if the Goliaths get over here in time. Ooh, just barely picks up that Reaver and is able to get away. So not a lot of damage done so far, really just only delaying the science facility. Now one thing to note is I only saw 1 armory. So our +1 armor timing is going to be a bit delayed. But here comes YSC, but because we teched pretty hard and went for a fast Nexus, we actually don't have that many units. So I don't think he can really engage this, and he does try to. Losing a bunch of goons there, he's going to have to turn around. Now luckily for him, the supply is not that high for Sorry. It's not like he's feeling confident to counterattack with this. Now something that I'm very concerned about is this SCV-2 probe count. Already up 20 workers. That's a full base of saturation ahead of the Terran player. So Protoss is going to have killer econ. Well, in fact, he already has killer econ. He's just going to be spiking so much harder and faster than Terran. He's already got his Stargate done. Arbiter Tribunal almost done. And here comes that Gateway Flood, as expected, because of how fast he's spiking in the minerals. He also has a completed 4th base already transferred there. He's got good saturation, 5 to 6 on each side. And what do you do from Sorry's position right now? You know he's going for whoa. Okay, there's the 2nd army. I thought he was getting +1 when he already, or +1 armor when he already had +1 weapon and he didn't have a 2nd armory. But he did hide it in the back, so he is still lining up for what looks like about a 12:45 2-1 timing. But I'm honestly not sure if he's going to be able to hit his max timing by then. And we know that YSC is definitely going to, because he's setting up to take a 5th base. Stargate is already has an Arbiter halfway done. Stasis is coming in. +1 weapon is kicking in. It's not going to be able to get to +2 before a fight happens, but having +1, still going to be in a pretty good spot. Now, even though YSC had a huge worker lead, he has cut probes completely, still at 67, and Sorry has caught up very fast, already closing the gap in the worker lead, in the worker difference. Now there's that double shuttle that I was waiting for. It's going to be super annoying if it can get into the main base and shut down some depots, but Sorry must have scouted it because he's moving into the position to try and take it out. But YSC sniffs it out, just going to move back to the middle. Another scan going off. He does see that the 5th base is going up, sees that the 4th base is already up. Now, if you're Terran, really, you're not too concerned about facing 10 gates. You're really starting to get worried when you see them having another main and they have 10 gates there. So Sorry, he's feeling confident to take his 4th base, even though he's down 35 supply. Those very impactful 2-1 upgrades are going to be kicking in very soon, probably within the next 30 seconds or so. But his supply is pretty low. It's going to be about 150 or so when he actually hits 2-1. And really, you're not feeling too confident to move out at that point. So he may be setting up to go into a very complacent 3-2 style. Wait for max, wait for a high tank count before actually doing anything. And by the time that happens, I just feel like we're just going to have too many bases to kill. But YSC has got other plans. He's moving in with the drop. Now, I don't know where that second shuttle was because we did see one earlier. There they go, coming in through the bottom. Great focus fire from the Goliath. A lot of these tanks have not died. They're reigning supreme, taking out a lot of the Zealots. Only 5 tanks, though. Great defensive matrix. Gonna save this tank. And it looks like YSC is not going to be able to bust through. The Sim City was a little bit too much. The angle was not the greatest either. Also funneling on top of the choke. And that's a big loss. Also a huge anti-timing here. Look at the Arbor. It had 100 energy. We could have had a stasis. So a bit of a misstep there from YSC. But because we don't have 10 factories, 8, 9, 10 factories, it's not like Sorry's looking to go for a counterattack just yet. So YSC is going to get away with going for a bit of a blunder there. He's not going to get punished. And meanwhile, he is going to take a 6th base. We don't see the gateway flood up at bottom left. So Sorry isn't under any pressure yet to try and deny that just yet. But overall, good hold from Sorry. It definitely got him back into this game. I was getting extremely worried that we really were not going to be able to keep pace with the Protoss if Protoss just sat and banked up that energy. Now, one thing to note here is our tank count looks like we're at about 11, which is honestly a very low tank count, especially if we're going to leave what seems to be 3 or 4 at the 4th base. So really, we're not even at a control group of tanks, and you're never feeling confident with less than a control group of tanks. But meanwhile, we got a recall going into the main. We were lacking on the turrets, and that allows access into the main base. It's going to be a good recall completely in the main. Now, how much damage can he actually get done? He should focus down the starport. Taking out the starport is going to be so deadly. Even lifting the command center. Now this comsat is not going to be able to scan. Does the armory... Oh wow, he's going to get both armories. That's going to be both +3 weapon and +2 armor. And they were halfway along. And it looks like YSC is more than likely going to take this game. Sorry is going to have one big strong attack with 2-1, but he's just getting picked apart. Meanwhile, YSC macroing like a god, streaming across the map. These goons are still here. Not a lot of tanks left down at the 4th base. He should be able to barrel through this time. Vultures intercept some of the army, but it's not all of it. And here he goes. Oh, there's a gap at the top. Let's just go through the top side, get backline access onto these tanks. And this is going to be this 4th base going down. Sorry is scrambling to try and save it, but I don't think he's going to be able to get there in time. This is a lot of goons, a lot of zealots, even focusing down that very key vessel. And we know that that's very important now with the starport gone. And there's just so much Protoss. More units just streaming across the map. How many gates is this? This is 14 gate Protoss, 6 bases. This is just perfectly done from YSC, making it look easy when he doesn't get punished in the early game. You can see how strong he is with amazing macro. We knew how well he could take bases because he did very well last game despite being under an immense threat. GG. YSC brings it back 1-1. So this is going to be the decider match, game 3. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know exactly what level both of these players were on. Was Sorry a much higher tier than YSC, or was YSC kind of the favorite in this matchup? But it looks like they're pretty even. And really it came down to both times which player kind of got their econ kind of hurt. We saw in the first game that YSC had his econ disrupted a little bit and then was never really able to keep up. And Sorry, even though he didn't take a lot of damage, he cut a lot of SCVs, and then he wasn't able to keep up in the mid to late game. So definitely look to Sorry this time to try and keep pace with the SCVs. Being down 20 workers at the, what minute was it? It was like 8 minutes. That's not where you want to be as Terran, and Protoss just ran away with it. So we are into Fighting Spirit as our last map. We've got YSC in the top left, meanwhile Sorry in the bottom left. Now we have seen Gas Opener both times from Sorry. Now I think is the time to go for that gasless expand. But you got to think from the Protoss perspective also. This guy showed me 12 gas. Is he going to go for a gasless expand this time? Or is he just going to keep going for the 12 gas style? I think that this time YSC should build the Zealot. And if you're thinking along the lines of, well, he's expecting me to gasless expand, then I'm not going to gasless expand. Or at least I'm going to, you know, get up a really slick SimCity if I'm going to do it. And here goes that SCV. It is going to be a gasless expand. We do have the forward racks. And now I really do hope that YSC builds this Zealot, because I think this was not a super obvious gasless expand, but I'm leaning more towards this game in particular to be gasless. Now Sorry is going to send out a fast scout. He wants to make sure that he's not getting proxied, but as I say that, he's not scouting the center of the map, which you see quite often if you're going for gases, because if you do see proxy gate there, you need to instantly put up a second barracks in order to hold it. Now luckily for him, he's going to get a first scout, and he came from a scouting pattern that really isn't that common. So this probe should go to the right side, and it does, and that means that more than likely he's going to get last scouted here. It's a bit unfortunate for YSC, and it looks like he did skip the Zealot this time. So Sorry is not going to get punished. That means he can build the command center faster. He can even skip this Marine, but he's going to play it safe because he's not too sure if a Zealot is going to pop out just yet. But now with the cybernetics completing and no Zealot, he's feeling pretty confident. He can just go into the depot. He can even skip the bunker for a while, potentially delay it for a very long time, depending on how long this SCV can stay in the base and keep the attention of the Dragoon. Now smartly, YSC realizes, hey, you're not top right. The chances of you going for a cross scout is pretty low. So he's going to cross scout himself. He's going to find him second, and he is going to see that it is gasless. He is going to see that Terran is kind of getting away with a little bit here. Well, actually, the probe didn't push in. He does just move back, and actually he is in the dark, which is a bit worrisome for YSC now, because both games already we saw Terran move out with a quick vulture. So this goon just mindlessly moving out, you have to be a bit worried if there's a vulture backstabbing me. We know that there isn't, but this is kind of a risky move out. But I think it's kind of also mandatory because he needs to figure out what's going on. The second goon should be able to fend off a potential counterattack from the vulture. But we'll have to wait and see how he moves it. I hope he puts it on hold position. Well, now he sees the bunker and he knows what's going on. So everything is alright on the Protoss side. Now, I was wondering where the heck our factory was. Because I was like, shouldn't we have a factory by now? And it's going to be a proxy factory at mid-right. Now, this is a pretty cute move. I don't think I've ever seen a Terran player build their first factory in the center of the map after going for a fast expansion. But what are the drawbacks of this? Well, the first drawback is our tank is going to be super delayed. So these goons wailing on this bunker, we're going to have to repair it forever. But it is going to allow him to get vultures out onto the map very quickly. It is going to allow him to go for a backstab very quickly. And it's unlikely that YSC is going to expect anything like this. So he really does need to wait for 2 vultures, get 2 to start one-shotting those probes. If he sends out 1, I would be very surprised by that. Now this SCV, what is it up to? It would be so funny if he proxies a starport also. Meanwhile, back at the main, we do have the factory with the add-on. This is going to be 2 vultures. He needs to float this back, or build 2 more vultures afterwards. Get into the main with these 2, and then make a couple more to attack the gnat at the same time. Here he goes. First 2 vultures are out. It looks like YSC might get a bit lucky here with a dragoon popping out just in time. We do see that a support bay is coming down also, so he's going to get aggressive. Ooh, dragoon. Does he realize? He does realize, and great control on these probes. He had to get on top of this ramp to minimize losses. Really slick drone drill or probe drill takes out all of the vultures with minimal losses, and now this kind of tips the hand of that there is a factory out on the map, and actually he should start going looking for it, because a factory is an expensive building to lose at this point in the game. Remember, it costs 100 gas, which is essentially a tank, and we're also, our econ is still being disrupted because our tank is so late. And also with going Reaver, that means we only have 1 factory production. So there's a whole lot of benefits to try and go and kill this factory. But instead, he is just going to continue to wail on this bunker, play defensively back at his main. I'm a bit surprised that he's not... Oh, he's actually just going to go try and jump on this bunker on top of this tank. 1 goon goes down, but this tank is going to fall. Good SCV control. Seals in 1 of the dragoons almost, but he does take down a second one. And there goes that factory. Now it's going to start floating back to the main. Because the support bay was put at the entrance of the base, he does know that, again, that this is Reaver play, so he's putting up some defensive turrets. But look at our defense. We have 1 tank for defense. The Reaver is out onto the map. I don't think we have speed. Ooh, speed actually is about 70% done. And if it can just run by this turret, where's our anti-air come from? Marines? There are 4. They have high DPS, but they're going to have to get through Zealots and Reavers. This turret timing is crucial. Ooh, Shuttle wants to get around that turret, but because he doesn't have speed just yet, he's a bit hesitant to move in. And this is all the time Sorry needs to get this turret up, get his factory count up, get out a few more units, because really he was looking very skimpy on the defense. Really 1 Reaver and 2 Zealots probably could have ended the game. But for now, the game's going to go on. And what's the follow-up going to be for YSC? He's going for 2 base Arbiter, at least for now. His Stargate is coming in. He's got his Archive coming in. He's got +1 weapon coming in. This is something that I love from YSC, always getting +1 weapon very quickly. Shuttle's very low. He needs to take it out. It's in danger of actually getting shot by this turret. Good hits from the Reaver, but would really like to see that turret go down. He does get it with the Zealot. Kind of a misfire on the Reaver there, shooting the refinery a couple times. But he does draw, I guess, the attention of Sorry back into his main, force units out of position, but really not a lot of damage done. Ooh, I think we're overstepping a bit with the Reaver. We're not really killing much. We're forcing out turrets, but I don't think that's very impactful. Now, do we have... Okay, we do have an armory somewhere. Okay, there it is. +1 weapon, about 50% done. Command center going up for Sorry. So we are going into the standard 2-1 style. We're not seeing any 5-fac play, any 6-fac play. And well, as I say that, he's putting down some factories, but this is not a 5 or 6-fac timing. He is just going to transition into a pretty standard game. Meanwhile, YSC taking a 3rd base for himself. He does have his Stargate done, Arbiter Tribunal almost done, so he's going to be going into what he's done almost every game we've seen, which is just standard Arbiter timing. This is going to put him at about an 11-minute Arbiter timing with about a 12-minute stasis timing. This is pretty much the ideal timing, I think, since Terrans usually move out at around 12:30, 13:30. It allows you to bank up enough energy for potentially even 2 stasis. Ooh, actually we may have just a huge timing because this is 5-8 fact timing, no starport. So this is just going to be a fast 1-1 timing because +1 weapon is already done. And honestly, timings like this are what 2-base Arbiter beats. You don't have those super strong 2-1 upgrades. You don't have 3-2 coming in for an eternity. And sure, you have a higher tank count, but they don't hit as hard. Now, Sari must know that his army is strong right now, I guess, judging from how fast the tech was, because he's moving out. This is not a move I would have done with a 3rd command center, and he's actually going to hit when YSC has nothing. There's literal nothing. We have 4 zealots, a shuttle, and 2 reavers versus like 8 tanks. Goodbye reaver, goodbye shuttle, and all that's left is dragoons coming from the back without an observer. We've got turrets coming up, we've got mines. He should easily be able to take out this nexus. And with 8 facts, he can easily reinforce this. And remember, the Arbiter is going to come out pretty soon, so that should be able to help during the fight. But when you have pure goon, it doesn't really matter if you have an Arbiter. Like, we just don't have anything that can kill tanks. There go those goons. Reaver's on, almost going to go down. Oh no, that's Arbiter running into turrets, and Goliath already taking... Oh, okay, it lost all of its shields, but didn't take any health damage. But he also gets into the 3rd base with a few vultures, and that's getting shut down. And all of a sudden, YSC, who looked like he was in a pretty good position, is on the brink of just losing. He's going to lose this Nexus for sure. Only 2 tanks attacking it, but I don't really think he necessarily... Well, a DT drop. You know you're desperate when you're DT dropping at this point. Reaver goes down. Oh my gosh, I forgot about those dragoons in the back. No mines were ever placed. He forgot about the dragoons on the left side. So actually, those goons clean up the tanks, and for now, YSC is going to hold. He keeps his Nexus. He did lose most of his probes, though, at top middle. You can see it reflected in the worker count, 39 to 60. And unlike last game, where it was Sari that was low on workers at this point in the game, it is YSC that is in deep trouble. And if past games are any sign of what's going to happen this game, both times somebody got their econ disrupted, they were the one to lose. So YSC is in a bit of trouble here. Depot wall's just barely not going to get up in time, but he should have a scan to... Oh, this DT's going to get a tank. Nice. Gets 4 vultures too. Hashtag worth right there. But YSC is still not out of the woodworks yet. Also, this turret placement is not good because we don't have a wall anymore. So I'm already seeing it in my mind. Zealots just streaming up this ramp at some point. Now, how many tanks do we have left? Because losing those 7 to 8 tanks is a big deal. We only have 5 remaining. It's not like YSC has a super army just yet, but it does take a while to build up that tank count when we only have a few add-ons. But as I say that, I see we do have 3 add-ons coming in for Sari. Very nice move from him. Definitely needed to get up more than just 1 or 2 add-ons this time, especially since he's not going for the fast science facility. Now, what can YSC really do to get back into this game with his econ disrupted so hard? He needs to start spamming out those arbiters, which is what he's doing. This should be a 2nd arbiter, I think, coming out. Maybe even a 3rd. Looks like there is only 2 arbiters, but we know that it's going to take Sari quite a while to get up another strong army that he feels confident with attacking with. And meanwhile, YSC has his forge upgrades coming in. He's got +2 spinning. It's going to be ahead of the Terrans +2, so that's great for him. +1 armor was kind of missed by Sari. It's a bit delayed here. Not a huge deal, of course, but a little bit of a delay. Now, Sorry does see that YSC is taking top right, and he should recognize that, hey man, I killed a lot of probes. I disrupted a lot of your mining. Can you really tech this hard and take 5 bases? If I was Sorry, I would really kind of just try and hit max, not use any of my vultures to harass, but try and just build up a huge army and just try and run him over, because it's really hard to go for a double expand. That's 1,000 minerals right here, especially after losing all of those probes that he just lost. Now, I am clicking around to see if we have something like Storm coming in. It doesn't look like it's researching just yet, but that could be what YSC really needs to change the tide of these fights. There is Storm, so that is going to be very important for any future fight. I don't think it's actually going to be ready because Sorry is coming out right now. But how many tanks do we have? Again, we're pretty low on tanks. It's only about 8. Vessel almost gets sniped but ends up not falling. We've got a 20 supply lead. Now Sorry doesn't know that, and moving out with 8 tanks never feels great. So he is just going to sit for now. We do have observers positioned around the map looking for an opportunity for a recall. Looks like bottom middle is the spot. And Sorry is going to double expand himself. He's taking bottom middle. He's taking bottom right. He does have +2 weapon about halfway done. So about 17 minutes is going to be go time for him. But at 17 minutes, Templars are going to have Storm. So YSC will be able to win fights if he can have a good engagement. Perfect scan finds this Arbiter, and this Arbiter really shouldn't do very much. Does he have EMP? I'm surprised he recalled right there. He did recall. Now this was an instant cancel, and if you're YSC, you're feeling pretty good about that. Get a cancel on the 4th base. You know Terrans are super mega strong on 4th base, but what he doesn't know is that top bottom right is taken. Now, he can't lose this army. This is a pretty expensive army to lose. But he's going to lose it pretty much for free, so a bit of a misstep there. Always feels bad when you're losing a bunch of goons like this. And what that does do is it does buy him time to get a shuttle full of Templars. But he did lose quite a bit there and not get anything for his investment other than the command center. And now Terran has +2 weapon. Or it's very soon to have +2 weapon. And you're feeling good now. I'm still a bit concerned about the tank count. Alright, no I'm not. No I'm not. We've got about 15 tanks. This is a pretty good amount. But this Arbiter has gone unscouted. Still doesn't know about bottom right. Now he's going to find it. But this Arbiter has almost enough energy for recall, so this could be a base that gets taken out pretty soon. Oh, a bit of uncoordination here. Units are kind of bleeding off on the right side. Meanwhile, half the army in the middle of the map. This, great stasis there, takes out the vessel. Got to make sure you don't lose this shuttle, though. Does this have another? Oh, it does have another stasis, but that's a lot of tanks in the back. Even though the stasis hit a decent amount of the army, it's actually in an awkward position to try and engage into. So smartly, YSC does turn around, but now he's got 5 base running, and this is never the greatest sign for Terran. 5 base with gateways coming up at top right. We've got about 10, and actually we've got more than 10. We've got about 11 to 12 gates. And there is that attack that I was waiting for to mid left. Zealots can fit through here. This is not a complete wall, but I guess it doesn't matter if it's a wall if the Dragoons just wall you out. Depots don't go down, and this is just going to be YSC losing a bunch of units for free. But this is a lot of tanks to leave here. This is a lot of, very powerful units to be sitting in a defensive position. And a great recall at bottom right. How many SCVs is this? This is so many SCVs to get stormed, so that's a lot of econ to lose. Meanwhile, top right is under threat. This base should get taken out. Good minefield on the backside. A ton of tanks. I don't think YSC can engage into this, especially with half his army on the other side of the map. So this is again going to be both players trading blow for blow. Another base is going to fall. Now this time, Sorry does have a few units in position at bottom middle, he will be able to stop this attack coming in. It is only tanks for now, but not that many gateway units coming in. So this will get stopped, but he doesn't know about this follow-up attack through the center of the map. And we got a full-on base trade scenario right now. Both players are going to be stuck back onto 3 base. Ooh, gotta be careful with this vessel. This vessel has 200 energy. That's a huge deal. Good D matrix. Great EMP. It's gonna eliminate that Arbiter basically, but this command center most likely gonna fall. We don't have very many units for Terran. They're all at top right, but with this base going down, how much actual mining do we have for Protoss? We're back down to 1 base. Terran also back down to 1 base, but obviously I like Terran's army a bit more since our army is pure tank at this point. But we got quite a bank for Protoss, and he's also got a supply lead. It looks like he still kept his Arbiter, even though it doesn't have energy. He's got AoE here. And with no support for the tanks, even though tanks are the most powerful unit in the Terran arsenal, they gotta have a buffer. Jeez, this is so many tanks. 8 tanks. Got like 25 tanks here, but they need to sync up. You can see that Sari is trying to get them all together. Oh, this is not the angle. This is not the angle YSC wants. This is death. So many tanks sitting here. Good storms. Good splits though, but he needs multiple storms on those clumps, and instead ends up trading the majority of his army, even losing one of the Templars and another one morphed into an Archon. But both sides are very crippled at this point, down to 36 SCVs to 42 probes. Both are struggling to get another base. We actually see a command center floating to bottom middle. But the longer the game goes, the longer I'm going to like Sari's position. He has +2/+2. He should have +3 pretty soon. Looks like it's halfway done. Meanwhile, top right is still denied by these 2 tanks. And honestly, if Sari's just going to camp in the center of the map while he kind of remaxes, mid looks like a great base to take. You can fortify here, which defends all of this area and this area, and then really just lay a bunch of mines to defend a recall down here. Good EMP eliminating that Templar, but I don't know if that was really worth it because we see an Arbiter setting up like it wants to recall bottom middle. Now you got to keep in mind that there's still a 30 supply lead for YSC. He also has a lot of defense over here, so this is really like a 40 supply lead. I don't think we need to go up here. Oh man, this feels like a disaster. He is going to try and push the issue, but that's a lot of tanks, man. And the depot wall is really messing up the AI. A big loss all of a sudden closes the gap in supply. Would have definitely liked this more if we had hooked around to the right side, down to the bottom and up here, because at least there's no depots there. And also we have this Arbiter waiting to stasis or recall. So a bit of a blunder there, but YSC is still transitioning quite nicely. He does have top right going up, both the main and the natural. He does have +3 weapon. He's starting to get his armor upgrades. So everything is looking pretty good, but he still needs to have a good engagement. The tank count is so high, we cannot have just units funnel into siege mode. Here comes that Arbiter. Now the vessel is just barely gonna miss it. It's on patrol, but he doesn't see it. Perfect recall. Lands on a mine, but didn't really deal that much damage. And this base is gonna most likely fall. This is a lot of Dragoons. EMP eliminating a lot of the shields, but he can target fire down this command center. Oh, maybe not. A lot of tanks already just sitting here and waiting. Great storms blanketing the Goliaths, taking out a couple tanks, but the command center doesn't die, at least not just yet. Amazing storm. Trading so well, but we lost a ton of Dragoons there too. And that's an expensive loss, but look at our SCV count. We only have 29. So the Econ is really damaged now. For Sari, he's going to have to start building SCVs out of all of his command centers and just rally them there. Is that another recall? Another recall coming in. This might seal the deal. This command center is completely dead now. It does complete. EMP does miss. And now Sari's broke with no 4th base. So what's he do? He instantly counters attacks. He knows that the army is on the other side of the map, so this is a smart move, and he's got his eyes set on top right. There's no defense there. There's really not a lot of defense anywhere, but if he can eliminate this base or these two bases, that's the entirety of the mining for YSC. He's basically mined out at his third base now. This game is nuts. Still liking Asari's position now, especially with the units out of position and the Arbiters not having enough energy. So many tanks, just so many tanks, and they have +3 weapon. Good stasis to kind of just delay the inevitable. He has another stasis banked up, so he could do it again, but it's only a matter of time before Sari actually gets in there. How do you engage this? Well, actually, the ground army is pretty large for YSC. He should be able to actually plow through this. He needs to make sure to not take any damage to these mines, though. But if he can get the Zealots on top of this tank count, I think he can do it. Ooh, a little bit late there. Does not get the stasis off, but that's a good stasis. And now, actually, I think he can bust through. Oh, can those tanks actually get up? Doesn't look like they can get up, and now YSC is going to go for it. The minefield has been cleared. Half of his army isn't synced up here. Another great stasis. I think he's got enough to bust through. I think he's going to do it. Supply is plummeting for Sari. It's only a handful of tanks left over, and he's broke. YSC still has this Nexus up and running. All of the tanks getting eliminated. A bit of a misstep there. He was unable to actually sync up his army, going a little too far deep, getting all of his tanks caught. And these Arbiters, I think, have one more stasis available. No vision means that these tanks are going to go down basically for free. Scan is too late. Good EMP there. That was a mandatory EMP. Now he does have... Oh, I think he actually... Oh, what happened to those tanks? Did they just blow up? Looks like they got blown up, and now it's 7 tanks versus only a handful of Dragoons. But we got a lot of Zealots and Templars on the other side of the map. But this is manageable now for YSC. Another great EMP. That Arbiter, I think, had stasis, and now that Arbiter goes down, and now you have nothing really to stop these tanks, especially if they can get onto the high ground. But Sari is very low on resources. Looks like we're about 700 left or so. Meanwhile, we have none for YSC. If this base goes down, that's it. I don't see an Arbiter anywhere else on the map. Okay, there is one in the middle of the map. He's clearing out these mines. But he needs to get this Zealot Templar army together up here. This is really the only army left for Sari on the map. But he gotta kill it before this Nexus goes down. All of the probes are here too, so if we wait too long, even if we wipe the army, we don't have any actual workers. All the probes going down. We have 20 left. Looks like we've got a few at top middle. But the supplies are basically dead even. 87 to 84. Sari is still struggling to sync up his army, but now he's just going to escape from top right. He needs to hug the right side of the map. At least try and get into a dominating position if he actually has an engagement over there. Sari desperately trying to get some mines out here. Doing a good job to run by those Dragoons. And now he actually has a killer army. I don't think actually YSC can engage this. There's too many mines, too many tanks. We don't have the Zealots mixed in either. Did he forget about the Zealots? No, he didn't. Luckily, he didn't forget about these Zealots. They are key to victory for him. And you can see how cautious both players are being with their standing army. Really, the advantage for Sari right now is he has ComSat, so he can see exactly where the army is. But I actually like the army of YSC a bit better. I heard the scan go off. He didn't find the army just yet. He's looking for it. Okay, now I like Sari's army better. He's got way more tanks. He's got, looks like 12 tanks, about 12 vultures. And really not that much. Well, I mean, that's a lot of units for YSC, but I feel like there's just not enough, actually. Long distance mining. Literal zero econ for YSC at this point. This is all of his econ. He's going to be long distance mining from the natural. This is probably going to be it. This is going to be the last fight. YSC is going to go for it, but Sari's in a fantastic position. Mine set up, Siege set up beautifully. If he can get another EMP off, that's going to seal it. Oh, Arbiter way out in front. Way out in front. He does stasis the vessel, but... Oh, he stasises both vessels. Now, how much energy do we have? Okay, we have a lot. Here he comes. Gonna try and barrel in here. There's a decent amount of tanks. Good stasis right there. The Templars are taking a while to get in Storm. He may actually just barely be able to bust through. Good Storm, dealing out a decent amount of damage on top of the Vultures, but the tank spread is so good. I don't know what happened to the Zealots. It looks like they just evaporated, and Sari may just barely be able to hold on. He's down to 2 tanks versus 6 goons. Oh, 1 tank remaining that's not in stasis. This Templar does not have a storm available. This is so close. Holy moly. Oh, the EMP hits the Templar. And now you can imagine that there's no way 4 goons can actually kill this army. Look how desperate he is to kill this vessel. But with the tanks coming out of stasis, there's just not enough to actually kill this minuscule army. It's 2 tanks, 1 Goliath, 1 Vulture. We got a command center in the middle of the map. Sari is actually able to mine. Meanwhile, YSC still long distance mining. He can't produce basically anything. And this is going to be Sari taking game 2 in a killer game. One of the closest games I've ever seen. What a heartbreaker for YSC, but very well done from Sari. Super impressed by that game. So it is going to be Sari taking our best of 3 this time. YSC is going to fall. But that was a wow, that was a crazy game to end on. So that's going to be it for us, guys. Thank you for watching. As mentioned before, these are sponsored games. These are recent sponsored games. We have a list of players that are willing to have their games casted. So if you want to see specific players have games casted, let me know who those players are. I've already recommended Soma because I know everybody loves Zerg players and loves Soma. But if you've got anybody else in mind, definitely mention it to me and we could possibly make it happen.